We're live.
Hey, everybody. All the stuff is going out, so give people a little bit of time to jump in.
Oh, yeah. I'll make sure this.
See if we can share it up.
Great. I think mine's already shared on my page.
Is it?
I don't know. Yes. I shared it earlier.
Well done.
Any funny stories from the weekend? Or the week, Nathan?
You're the funny story one. What do
I
you
know. I don't know. I can't think of anything. We got snow here. It's not funny, but we got snow here.
No, that's not funny.
And we played in the snow yesterday, so that was fun. I don't know. Riker was frustrated with me in the snow because we were outside playing. And he was frustrated that I wouldn't really pick him up and chuck him in the snow. I mean, it's not like we got 4 feet of snow. We got 3 inches or something. And I would pick him up and kind of gently toss him a little bit. But he really wanted me to
hurl him
into the snow. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. That's going to hurt. But
fun.
I don't know. I can't think of any funny stories.
That's all right. So we were not here last week for live because we were actually in Colorado.
And it was great.
Yes, up in the mountains. We were at Beaver Creek.
Yeah, we took some time away.
Which was great. Thanks to Michael and Ashley for joining us up there. That was fun. So, yeah, that's what we were doing last week, hitting the slopes. Rough snow situation in the mountains right now.
Yeah, it was bizarre because we were on the mountain and it's all man-made snow because if you look across to where there's no ski slopes, it's just mountain. There's no snow on it.
No snow.
Maybe you would see a patch here and there, but there's no snow.
Yeah, I feel for them because they've got enough on their plates dealing with the corona stuff and some rather draconian rules that Colorado's put into place, and then on top of that to have to deal with an El Nino year, meaning a warmer winter year. It's not great.
Ice skiing. But it was fun. It was nice to get away.
But if you check out our Facebook page, you can see Andrea hitting a hop.
Yeah, that's what it was. A little gentle hop.
But we had fun. I mean, it was good to get away. It was just us, no kids.
We wanted to do more jumps, but it was so icy that it was really too dangerous to do jumps, so you could really only hop here and there.
That's right. So it was good. Yeah, I had fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no doubt. It's good.
It was my first time away from Lincoln for an extended period of time.
And you did well. Thanks to my parents for stepping in with taking the baby, and for both my parents and Andrea's parents for helping out with the other kids. So it's great. So today, as you probably saw from the title, we're talking Christmas traditions. So I love Christmas. And
I've come around.
Yes, Andrea's kind of a Scrooge, a little bit of a Scrooge, but she's getting there. But she's getting there. So I mean, shoot, when we got married, it was no lights.
Yeah, and it's not that I hate
let's
Christmas.
Burn down an orphanage on Christmas. I mean, it was
bad.
Excuse me? Yeah, it was not good.
It's not that I hate Christmas or anything like that. There's nothing to do with that. Part of it was there was this internal angst about Christmas, but it's a lot about gifts, and how do we justify those two things, or anyway, how do we merge those but still make it about the birth of Jesus?
Yeah.
So some of it was that, and some of it was it's so busy because we had lots and lots of family stuff, so it was so much packed into a day and a half, and it was very stressful. And then a lot of just stuff, there's decorations, and that clutters the house. And so actually we didn't put up any decorations for Christmas until we had Jackson, and he was 2 or 3 years old.
Right.
And even then Nathan would have to put it up. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, and it's still pretty chill on the decorations around our house.
Yeah, I would do more if we had more, but because the kids make it different for me. Totally. I love Christmas a lot more because of the kids. But it's not that I hate Christmas. It's just a lot.
Right. So what I want to know from you guys that are here is, what is your favorite Christmas tradition, right? It can be something that's really traditional to your family. It can be something kind of off the wall that you guys do. But what I want to know from you as we kind of have our discussion the next 20 or 30 minutes is, what Christmas traditions do you have that you love? And I want to hear from you guys on what it is that you love. And here in a little bit, we'll kind of share our favorite Christmas tradition as well. But while you guys are thinking about that and throwing that in the comments, what did we get up to this week, babe, on the channel?
Yeah, so Monday we were talking about
the year-end.
Nope.
The year-end review or the year-in
review.
Now, if you check the Facebook page, we have more votes for a year-end.
You guys
review.
suck. Come on.
So it's obviously year-end review.
Anyway, so we talked about that, and I'm curious if any of you do anything like that.
Yeah.
I know we do have some friends that do some extensive year-in review stuff. But I'm curious if anybody else does stuff like that, or if there's things that we don't talk about that you think that would be great for us to talk about.
Totally.
When we have ours. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So if you don't know, the year-in or year-end review is the time when we sit down and look at the year that was, 2020 in this case, and figure out, okay, where were we at with regards to the goals that we set out at the beginning of the year? We had goals for our family. We had goals financially. We had goals time-wise as far as what we're going to be involved in and what we're going to be dedicating our time to. And so this is our time to take a look in the rearview mirror and go, okay, what went well, what went poorly, and kind of go from there. And that leads then on to what we will be talking about tomorrow morning on the channel, which is the upcoming year planning. And usually we do those. Andrew and I'll try and do it like maybe over the course of a weekend or a few days. I don't know if we're going to get it done on a weekend this year. We may have to do it, over the course of a week. But, you do the year-end review stuff and then take a look at, okay, now next year, what do we want this to look like? Do we want to set different goals financially? Do we want to set goals for our time? We're involved in marriage ministry at our church. So how's that going? What things do we want to do differently with regards to that? Are we too involved in that or other things? Do we need to get more involved, less involved? Where are we at with friends, right? I mean, we talk about a lot on our channel about having people around us, to, being surrounded by other people that push us to be who the Lord wants us to be as husband and wife, and friends and people we can pour into and not, be hoarders of the grace that we've been given, but to allow that to pour out onto others. And so where are we at with that? Right? Are we too involved in other responsibilities that we're not involved enough with people?
Yeah, that can be a huge trip up.
It can. I mean, one thing, just being transparent, that we're going to talk about this year is I think we both kind of felt like we did not do a great job this year of being intentional about having time for the two of us on a regular basis. It's easy to get involved in all sorts of things, and the person that you're married to becomes a lower priority. And it doesn't mean that we didn't ever have time together, but we want to have more of that, to hang out and play games together or do fun things together instead of having to be on for parenting or adulting in some other way. So that's kind of that's kind of the transition from year-end review to planning. So, obviously it makes it easier to do the year-end review if you had a meeting last year, right? Because then you have goals to take a look at. But if you didn't, that doesn't mean that you don't do that at all, right? I mean, you can go back through your bank account and your calendar and go, okay, well, what did we get up to this year? Where did our money go? Are we controlling where our money's going, or is our money just going somewhere?
Which happens so easily.
So easily.
You don't tell it where to go.
Yep, easily. So easily. So that was really the gist of the year-end review conversation that we had last Monday, and we'd love to have you guys check that out if you didn't get a chance to. Yeah,
so then Friday, we talked about Christmas and how we handle Christmas.
Yes.
We had a bit of a discussion about, is Christmas something that we should really be celebrating as believers, and how do we celebrate that? What for us is, how do we feel like God's called us to celebrate Christmas? And we had a really unique perspective on it that we felt like God had called us to a couple years ago. So that's what we were talking about on Friday. And if anybody's listened to it, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Or
Totally.
if you think we're nuts, the ways that you celebrate Christmas or don't.
Right.
Yeah. I know some people bring in like the Jewish holiday traditions and they kind of mold that in with their Christmas traditions too, which is great. Just in learning, the Jewish traditions, since that's our history as believers. We come from the Jewish faith, So
I'm going to post up a link here in a second to that episode. But before I do, let's give you kind of the gist of kind of what we talked about in that episode. So really the gist for us, sorry, I got a message from a friend of mine and I was checking to make sure he wasn't saying like, hey, you're muted or something dumb like that I would do. Okay, so here was the gist of what we talked about on Friday. Basically, it becomes such a difficult thing for Christian parents to figure out, okay, how are we going to wrestle Christmas back from the world so that we can get our kids focused on Jesus' birth and on Jesus. And so basically where Andrea and I have ended up on this is we don't. And that doesn't mean that we ignore the celebration of Jesus' birth. But what it does mean is we spend a lot of time intentionally talking about Jesus' birth, the impact of Jesus' birth, Jesus' life, death, and resurrection. What does that mean for us? Studying through the Bible as we find it throughout the year, that then when we get to Christmas, praise the Lord, we don't feel as much of that stress to really make sure that we hit a home run with regards to Jesus' birth, because we've taught that at times when we have probably more of our kids' full attention.
Yeah, and it's definitely more of a topic, of course, around Christmas, because that's one thing that we do celebrate at Christmas is Jesus' birth and his life and his gift to us in coming to the world. So we do talk about that more at Christmas, and that is a focus, but it's not really something that we feel an intense need to really constantly bring it back to, because Christmas is a lot about the traditions and the gifts and the family time and the meals and all that. And we feel that God has given us a lot of freedom in like enjoying that and not feeling guilty for those things.
Right. So whether you're watching this live now or watching it later, I'd love for you to just comment on what you think about that. Are we too cavalier with regards to how we take a look at Christmas? Because, I've had people say that they feel like that's sort of just surrendering Christmas to the secular world. And, I suppose I disagree with that a little bit from the standpoint of, for one thing, the origins of Christmas is secular.
Right.
Like there's no surrendering it. It is. And I'm okay admitting that. There are certainly with St. Nick, and please listen to the podcast episode, because we talk about the history of Christmas and the history of St. Nick and how that morphed into Santa and what does this mean. And, so I'd love for you to check that out and let us know what you think of that. But, at the end of the day, it's okay to enjoy a secular holiday so long as it does not lead into sin, right? And I think it's okay for us to openly speak with our children about things like that. And we just had a really good conversation with Jackson about why, if we look at what the Bible says, the text of the Bible, why definitively Jesus was not born in December. Mm-hmm. And, for him, it was like, whoa, oh man, you mean the Bible refutes, Walmart and everybody else that has their Christmas decorations out? For him, it was a really big deal to recognize that. So anyway, I think that's a cool thing. We can use the text of the Bible, God's word, to set a context for these sorts of conversations that we have.
Yep.
And of course, we talked about Santa in that episode as well. It's probably the biggest question we get when it comes to Christmas is, what do you do about Santa?
Right. And we do kind of we have morphed our Santa. So I grew up we never believed in Santa, and Nathan grew up the opposite way of that. And so we kind of have met in the middle a little bit with that. And do kids ever grow up and say, oh my gosh, my heart is so squashed because of the way we thought of Santa? No. So it's probably not a big deal.
No, but ironically, as you talk about that, babe, and we address this in the episode, so please download it and listen to it. But I have heard people whose parents go way out of their way to make a big deal about Santa, that Santa's real and the whole deal. I have heard people where it really impacted them when they realized that their parents had been, I mean, just call it what it is, but had been lying to them about.
And then the question is, well, what else have my parents been lying to me about?
Right.
You know, if it goes so far. So
right.
We talked about that.
So check that out. I just put a link to that in the description below. So please click on that and listen to that episode. But yeah, then that leads into this coming Friday. We'll be continuing our series talking about Christmas. So if there are topics you would like to hear about with regards to Christmas, we'll actually be shooting that episode here in the next couple of nights. So would love for you can just comment right in this video, and even if you're watching it after the fact, and it'll alert us. But if there's something about Christmas where you go, man, it would really be helpful to me and my wife, or me and my family, if you, or husband, if you would address whatever the issue is that you'd love with regards to Christmas, please don't hesitate to put that in the comments. We'd love to talk about it. We're all in this together, so that's what we would love to do.
Cool.
So, last call before we shut it down here in a minute for favorite holiday traditions, Christmas traditions.
Yeah, does anybody have any?
We got way too many creepers on this channel. People that listen don't put any comments in.
Yeah, it's no fun to just talk to ourselves.
That's right. That's right. So, babe, while those people are thinking about it, what's your favorite Christmas tradition besides orphanage burning?
That is so ridiculous that you say that. I am not that Scroogey about Christmas. I don't know. I think it's just the probably a cop out, but just the Christmas morning, like kids coming down the stairs and the stockings and the feeling of like Christmas. I don't know. It's just, that's not really, I mean, that's a tradition, I guess, but it's not anything out of the ordinary, but it's sweet. You know, everyone's in their pajamas, and that's just probably my favorite Christmas tradition. And I love that we get 2 weeks off of school at Christmas. I love that we take a nice big break at Christmas.
Sure.
But I don't know, just the Christmas morning, like excitement and family time and fun. And this year our Christmas is a little bit different. So Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, we don't have anything going on except except our things. Yeah. You know, we don't have to go anywhere that we don't choose to. Like we don't have other family functions going on. Mm-hmm. So that'll be something new for us. So yeah, that'll be nice. Yeah, no, that'd be great. That'd be great. For me, probably my favorite Christmas tradition is probably the same. It's probably the coming downstairs, all the stockings are set out. I mean, other than the food, right? I mean, I love the food that we have. We have some Christmas food traditions that are on point. So Nathan's mom makes this egg casserole and these kind of pecan roll sort of things. Oh, so good. And she's made it for years on Christmas morning. And as far back as I can remember. When we started doing our Christmas morning, just our family in our home, Nathan's like, okay, but you have to make this stuff. So I do. And it's really good. But Nathan, we're going the next morning to have Christmas the day after Christmas. Yeah, the day after Christmas. We're going to have Christmas with Nathan's family, and they're going to do the casserole and all that. And I was like, okay, well, 2 days in a row. No, I said, okay, I don't need to make the casserole this Christmas then. That's because ridiculous. Your mom's going to make it the next day. And Nathan's like, what did you tell me? You need to confess your sin. No, I said you need to pray about that. Oh, pray about that. So we're going to have 2 days in a row, I guess. See, she prayed about it. It's great. No, that's awesome. What about you guys? What are some Christmas traditions you guys have that you love or that you look forward to each year? Growing up, one of my favorite Christmas traditions was Christmas Eve, going over to my grandparents' house. And it was just that kickoff to Christmas. And it was just such a nostalgic feeling. Sure. We went over to my grandparents' house and we had clam chowder, and I mean, it was the same meal every year, and it was really good. And then we would sing Christmas carols and read the Christmas story and open gifts, and I don't know, I don't know, that may have been my favorite part of Christmas.
Yeah,
just because it
was a kickoff.
It was a kickoff, and it was so nostalgic, and
it's great.
I don't know, so that was probably my favorite as a kid.
It's great.
Yeah,
that's great. Well, whether you're listening to this, live now, or if you listen to it here in the next few days, please put down in the comments what your favorite Christmas traditions are, so that it lets us know. We'd love to address those in our shows and celebrate the things that you guys celebrate. Christmas is such an amazing time of not just remembering the sacrifice that was made for us. And to be clear, the most amazing part about Jesus' birth is not a baby that was able to be born in a cave in Bethlehem, right? Because birth at that time in history didn't matter if you were in a cave in Bethlehem or in a nice, midwife birthing center. Birth was a dangerous thing. Mm. The most amazing part about Christmas for me is the fact that Jesus chose. He did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, right, but instead chose the humility of man to be able to come down to earth and live the perfect life.
What a leap.
Yeah.
That we can never fully understand, of course, but what a leap from perfection and perfect environment and being one with God to becoming a human.
Right, and what kind of love does that show, right? I mean, thinking about the love that it takes to choose that, and then remembering to tie it really into what we talk about with marriage by design. I mean, that love was meant to be a picture of, our marriage is meant to be a picture of that love. And I'll admit, I don't love Andrea that much. Like I don't reflect that kind of love that would leave. I mean, you said it so perfectly. That would leave perfection to go down to a group of people he didn't have to go down to. I mean, Jesus was Jesus. They could have scrapped the whole thing and started over. But he chose to come down and provide a way of salvation for us because he loved us that much. It's an amazing love story that we get to start celebrating. That it's on the minds of not just us as Christians, but on non-Christians, the world, everybody this time of year. And it raises the question for those of us who recognize that we are in a spiritual battle, why is it that this seems to be the time of year when Satan directs the world to have the most distractions? And to me, it's clear, because he's got to muddy the water of the story of this God who came down to be men among us, to love on us right where we were at when he didn't have to. And when you think about that, why would you not want a relationship with that God, with that God-man that came down to earth for us? All right, Brittany, you got Mannheim Steamroller and putting up the tree as a family. Oh, Steven, nice. Dude, Mannheim Steamroller is great. That's a huge tradition that I remember from growing up, because my parents were huge Mannheim Steamroller.
What was the other one?
Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Transsexual Orchestra.
Okay, that's not. It isn't.
No, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. That was cool.
Steven pops on and we completely go off the rails. That's what happens. That's great, man. I completely agree with that. Mannheim Steamroller.
Yeah, we went to that a lot too. That is like a super fun Christmas. It's just that feeling. Putting up the tree is always fun too. Do you guys have like Christmas ornaments? Did you guys get the Christmas ornaments from when you were kids to put on your tree now?
Yeah, that's a good question. So like we've got our Christmas tree, which is right here next to me. We've got, pretty much every ornament on it is from us growing up, with the exception of each year we try to buy each person in the family a new ornament. Yeah.
Okay. I had this amazing idea the other day. I was thinking about, so my parents gave me my ornaments that I accumulated growing up, because they would buy us an ornament every year. Nathan's parents gave him his ornaments from when he was a little kid too. And I was thinking, I'm too selfish to do that, I think. But I thought, hello, why don't I just buy, other than the fact that it's expensive, why don't I just buy 2 ornaments for the kids every year, the exact same ones. So I box up one that's going to end up going with them when they move out and they have their own tree, and I get to keep the other one that we buy and remember, because it's so fun hanging them and remembering, like sometimes there's a story or just remembering that year or kind of that age. So I was thinking, like, why don't we just bite the bullet and buy 2 for each person every year, and then we can keep the ones but these you can't box up.
So speaking of traditions, and that's a great idea. It made me think of this tradition as I was sitting over here looking at our tree. But one tradition that we had from the time that I was young, you can see this is me from 1985, so I was 1 year old. But from the time that we were young, I'm trying to hold that up so everybody can see it. We would get just a trace, real simple, just trace your kids' hands. And then my grandmother at first, but now you can see here, that is our daughter. That's her hand from when she was a year.
20. Yeah, your grandma might have made that one. She made them up. She's still alive. She just can't see very well, so she doesn't make them anymore.
So my mom
she might
makes
have made
them now.
this one. She made them up until just a couple years ago.
Yeah, so that is a super simple. So you make the tracing and then cut it out on fabric, sew it together. You say if you get really, it's stuffed with like just teddy bear stuffing, and then you can put little beads on it or whatever. But it's one of the coolest traditions because we've got all over our tree we've got little hands.
It takes a little bit of time, but you don't have to be like a great sewer to do it.
No. So that's a cool tradition we have too that I suggest.
They're really fun.
Yeah. Priscilla, driving around and looking at lights. Yes. And yes to the kids' ornaments. Andrea, you're onto something, babe. You get ornaments while on family vacations. That's a great idea. I wish we were forward thinking enough to do that, because I do think every year we get to this point where we're like, oh, it'd have been cool to have an ornament from
there's the
whatever. That's true. There is the internet.
But it'd be better to probably go get them, when we're where we're at.
Yeah, driving around and looking at lights though, that's a good one. That's one you love.
Yeah, we did that last year. I don't think we did that the year before, but we did it last year. It's fun to just pile in the car and
we found you found a street or something that goes nuts.
They have their own radio channel that they do like Christmas music too.
That's like synchronized to the lights, and it's awesome. It was impressive.
But yeah, it's like a huge block or block and a half that does Christmas lights here in town, and they do it up big.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's fun to just pile in the car or just go around your own neighborhood. We did that one night. Nathan travels some, and so one night it was one of those nights where you're like, oh, I feel like this night is lasting 5 years. So it was one night last year, and I was like, everybody pile in the car, we're just gonna go around our own neighborhood and look at lights, and I'll throw some popcorn at you. And that was great.
Nice. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
that's
driving around looking at lights, that's a great one, Priscilla.
And that's great. I feel like with these comments that are being put down, as every one of them, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a great memory.
See, it's fun to create some, and they don't have to be tough, but it is fun to create some of these memories for the kids.
No question.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Man, guys, well, thank you so much for joining us. Coming up on a half hour, so we're going to bounce out of here.
Thanks for commenting, too.
Yeah, totally. Brittany, thanks. Priscilla, Brent, thanks. You guys are amazing. We love your support and love having you on here. Steven, you too. I love you. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for joining us. Remember, tomorrow morning, we'll have an episode coming out talking about planning for 2021 and what do boulders and pebbles and sand and all sorts of those types of things have to do with that, as well as maybe some suggestions of specific apps that maybe you can integrate into your family to help keep everything on point in 2021. So that will come out tomorrow morning, 5 a.m., both on audio and video. And then Friday, we will continue our conversation with regards to Christmas. And we have some ideas of things to talk about in that episode. But if you guys have things that you go, man, I'd really love to hear some conversation about whatever with regards to Christmas,
Well, let us
Would
know.
love for you to let us know that.
Yep.
Until then, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you all hopping on here on a Sunday night with us. Hope it was fun, and we will talk to you in the morning. Remember, God is for your marriage.